Today's Toy Spot, we're having a look at the Mattel Man of Steel Movie Master figures. We're looking today at Jor-El. Jor-El actually looks like a really solid figure. Now, in the time frame of when Spot's shooting this is actually the last figure that I'm reviewing from the Movie Masters line. Maybe it's worked itself out that way that this actually looks like a pretty solid figure. We'll certainly wait to get that opened up. Maybe the opinions of that will change. On the back of the package, we feature the same generic back card, utilizing all three characters in Wave 1. We've got Superman, Jor-El, and General Zod. It says, look for more Movie Masters deluxe figures, and that's it, and then other languages. So likely this is a package that's being utilized for all across the board, all the countries, for the release of this figure. It's not really a bad idea. At least it means probably distribution on the same time for all countries, which is definitely always something that I think is a good idea. Sometimes Canada, I know, gets behind on figures. I know sometimes even UK gets behind on some of their figures as well. Needless to say, what I'm going to do is take a break. I'm going to get this opened up. When we come back, we're going to get a better look at Jor-El. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. As with Zod and Superman, Jor-El does come with a display base featuring the Superman S as display base as opposed to General Zod. And as a comparison, just bring in Superman, you can see the two next to each other. Once again, a very small display base, and I really don't want to beat a dead horse. That's a horrible saying to make. Whoever came up with that saying that's a really, really horrible saying. But to beat a dead horse, I really feel as if the display bases should have been a lot larger. You know, probably to about there. Because especially with these figures, Jor-El is no exception. He's got two peg holes on the bottom of his feet. To peg him into his base, if Spot can actually line up the peg holes here, to peg him into his base, you can see that he just, as with every other Movie Master figure, it just sits too far off the edge of the base. Superman was really problematic because he had his cape. It gave a lot of extra weight to the figure that, looking at my Superman on the shelf, he kept doing this. And then eventually he was just kind of falling off the base. This could have easily been a little bit larger. I like the display base, but it really could have been a lot larger. A small gripe though, but really a gripe that I think is, a well-argued point, I would say, is the fact that this base could have been just a little bit larger. Just a little bit. Anyways, moving that out of the way. I won't mention bases anymore in this review. Having a look at Jor-El, I gotta say, you know what? All things considered, for being Superman's dad and a Russell Crowe figure, it's actually really good. It's really, really good. Gotta feel as if some way when I was doing the review of Zod, I think I was a little soured by how he turned out. Case in point, I'm just going to move Jor-El out of the way and move in Zod. He's angry and such. His head, yes, is still big. That has not changed. But I feel as if, I don't know. We haven't seen the movie. The movie hasn't come out yet. As it stands right now, when you're watching this review and when I've recorded this review, the movie hasn't come out yet. But I feel for an earlier released Zod, I don't know why we couldn't have gotten him in an armored version as opposed to just a straight out. I'm not sure yet when this suit is used in the movie, whether it's near the later end of the movie or if it's the beginning before he arrives to Earth. But I feel as if for what Zod should have been as a first released figure, I think they could have easily put him in a very Jor-El inspired armor, as he seems to wear armor at some point during the movie as well. Being that that's the first glimpse of Zod, I would have totally given him the armor and not so much in this just straight out black gear. Needless to say, I feel as if this figure is just more likely a pass because his head just still looks so big. But Zod aside, I like Jor-El. I think they did a really good job on him. I mean, you can look at that head. That's Russell Crowe for you. That is Russell Crowe. For anybody that's a big Russell Crowe fan, you could easily pop that head off and use it for other Russell Crowe figures. I don't know if you really would want to make a lot of Russell Crowe figures, but maybe if you want to make yourself Gladiator, you could maybe do a little head tweak on there on the hair, you know, Robin Hood, so on and so forth. You could have him in Virtuosity, but he would look a lot different, and nobody probably even knows of Virtuosity. It's a good movie. A little cheesy, but it's a good movie. But I really like his armor. This Kryptonian armor that he's got going on there, featuring the S crest going on there, really solid. And this brushed, I don't even know what you want to describe it as, like a copperish pewter that they've put on for the armor, is done really well. I mean, I look at this, and this only reminds me that Zod could have been a lot better. A lot better. And it looks like it is utilizing the same body, and they've just sculpted over this additional armor. But it works really well. I think between the blue and this metallic gold style of pewter, I think the two colors work exceptionally well on this figure. One thing to mention too is that none of the figures have open hands. They're all closed hands. They could have easily come with accessories, but unfortunately they don't. I don't know if future waves will come with accessories. I'm not too upset that they don't, but that's just also a little point that I noticed along the way here. As a comparison as well, we obviously have to get him in here as well. There is Superman. Having the two next to each other definitely looks nice. Definitely looks nice indeed. I mean, by far, my favorite is still Superman for the obvious reasons while it's Superman. But you know what? As a close second, I'm really digging Jor-El here. I'm really digging him quite a bit. In the way of his articulation, it would be the same as Superman's and Zod's. His head rotates back and forth, up and down. And surprisingly, actually, there is no hindrance, no issue moving the head. I almost feel as if I want to go back and get another Superman just in case. Well, just so I can possibly get a figure that doesn't have the issue, if you remember my review, the issue that this Superman did have. Plus, you know what? That's such a great Superman figure to have. I would likely want to pick up a second one anyways. In the other ways of his articulation, his arms move up and down. Now, you'll see his shoulder pad is attached to his shoulder, not actually attached to the torso piece. So it looks like you can move his arm, but you can only move it so much before you can start seeing this shoulder piece becomes a hindrance. He does have the bend in the elbow, and he does have a rotation in the wrist, rotation in the swivel in the waist, although you can't move it too much unless mine just happens to be much stiffer in the waist. Legs go forward, back, out, rotation in the thigh. He's got the bend in the knee and a hinged foot. I also really like the armor when it comes to his lower, really from the knee down. Some really nice details on there. It's kind of a cross between an alien armor and something you would almost see like in a medieval armor. It's done exceptionally well. Now, see, here's the thing. I don't know of the three figures well, obviously Superman is probably going to be the figure to pick up. In fact, when I picked up Zod and I picked up Jor-El after the fact, because I only picked up Superman the first time around, when I picked up these two figures, they only actually had Jor-El and Zod. They didn't have any more Supermans. I suspect Superman, if Mattel was smart, they'd package him more per case. But I suspect that Superman will likely be picked up first and foremost, because every kid, the first thing they're going to think is, I want a Superman, not necessarily, I want Jor-El. You know, so Jor-El likely will not be as fast of a figure to pick up, nor will likely Zod, but maybe because Zod is the villain, they might pick him up more. So maybe poor dad here is going to get a little more neglect. I would say, though, don't neglect Zod. Well, neglect Zod. Don't neglect Jor-El here. Jor-El is actually a really solid figure. I'm impressed with the sculpt. The face looks phenomenal, and the choice of color that they use definitely makes this figure excel. Jor-El, I'm going to give him a 7.5. And, of the three, again, I would almost say Jor-El is my second favorite. This, to me, just feel as if they could have put this armor on Zod and we could have gotten a better figure for first release. Once that figure comes out, and the movie has come out, you know what? Then give us a Zod without the armor. And I think it would have worked just as fine because everybody knows Zod by then. This is the way Zod should have been in the first release, but I digress. Today's toy spot, we're having a look at the Man of Steel Movie Masters Jor-El. A really good looking figure. I'm happy that I picked him up. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.